Hey girl! So, about the clutter, let's deal with it. Welcome back, or welcome if you're new here. I'm Christy, and I make content centered around realizing that no matter where we are in life, no matter our age, we are just on time to live the life of our dreams. And over these next 7 weeks, we're basically doing a 7-week reset, getting ourselves, our hearts, our minds, our souls, our bodies, all of the things ready for the lives that we want to live. So if you missed yesterday's video where I talked about everything we're doing for the next 7 weeks, I will link it up here for you guys to be able to watch. But other than that, welcome to the first day of our 7-week reset, where we are talking about letting go of the clutter. Cleaning is a really great metaphor for life. We hold on to so much clutter, so many things that just don't serve us, whether those be physical things or those be mental, emotional things or spiritual things. We end up holding on to so many things that are not good for us anymore, that maybe at some point served a purpose, but they no longer have any value in our lives, and we continue to hold on to them and they weigh us down. As we are thinking about clutter this week, we're dealing with it in two broad areas. First up is our physical clutter, which are all of the things that are kind of around us that we can see, that we know I can go pick that up, put that where it belongs, and it's no longer clutter. So there's the physical clutter, but then we also have the internal clutter, which are all of the things that we cannot see. First off, our physical space. Now, physical space is kind of the easy part. And I say easy, but it's not. Keeping a home clean can be really hard. Even for Ken and I, and it's just two of us, it is easy for us to create a lot of mess and a lot of clutter just because we are two people. It's kind of a law, one of those like natural laws, the law of entropy, where things just tend toward disorder. Things are not gonna naturally stay clean all on their own. We have to work toward that. But with that, our physical spaces are often very indicative of what is happening inside of us. That's why you end up seeing a lot of stories of people who are depressed or who are sick or who have a lot of things going on and their homes are a complete mess because what is happening inside of them is very much out of order, and so that ends up being reflected in their physical spaces. What is happening in our physical space very much is a reflection of how am I feeling inside, what has been going on in my life, what am I doing, what am I focusing on, kind of where am I mentally, where am I spiritually, where am I? If your physical space is a mess, babe, you just gotta clean it. If you have dishes that are in the sink, stuff that you ate from last night that is still hanging out on the countertop, if you have clothes that need to be washed or clothes that need to be folded, if you have stuff all over the floor, like, clean up. Just do yourself a favor and clean up. No, it's not gonna solve all the issues of the world, but it will help you to be a whole lot more clear-minded because we are not designed to function and to be our best selves in mess. Once you've taken care of the surface spaces where you actually come in your house and you look around and you don't see things that are obviously out, then focus on decluttering. In October, I challenged myself to a 30-day throwaway. It felt so good because I realized that there were things that I was holding on to that actually no longer served me where I was, that I felt like I needed. I didn't even know why I felt like I needed, and I couldn't answer questions about why I needed this, why this was helping me, why I wasn't giving away. I didn't have any reason except that I think I had been holding on to it so long and then I didn't know how to deal with it, or I didn't know what to do with it. Some things I just didn't know exactly what to do with it, so I hid it behind a bin. Because the thing is, you ain't never gonna see a mess. It will be hidden behind a closet. It will be hidden behind a bin. It will be completely closed off, and what you see is pristine. But that wasn't good enough. It was time for me, and I had come to a place where I was ready to let some things go. I was ready to throw away something. I have a friend, and we used to teach together, and I remember I came to school with all my bags, just all my bags, and she started singing Erykah Badu's Bag Lady about me, and I was so embarrassed because I just had all these bags, and that I feel like has always been probably a very true statement about me, is that I sometimes have a tendency to carry baggage that I just don't need. Stuff from before, stuff that I want to hold on to. Realizing that I have held on to things and that I have a tendency to sometimes hold on to things that I don't need anymore was really just fuel for me to say, you know what, we're getting rid of all of that stuff. Just don't need it anymore. We're letting it all go. Which made my husband so happy because he is a minimalist to his core, but I cannot tell you the amount of freedom that comes with decluttering. So clean up your physical space, make the surface areas look clean, but also open those doors, dig behind those drawers, like get all of that crap out. You don't need it. Next up, we're dealing with the internal clutter. Now, dealing with our physical space is just a surface level of dealing with clutter. And it's great. It is great to start at the surface level because it lets us know where we need to deal with things deeper, and it actually puts a lens on the things that we need to focus on. As long as stuff in our physical space is a mess, we don't really have a light that is shining on the other things that we keep secretly hidden to ourselves. So we have two types of internal clutter that we also need to deal with. First, we have that emotional and mental clutter where we have things in our heads that are constantly there that we are too afraid to deal with. And then the second is spiritual clutter, or the things that we are holding onto, or the things that we have that are blocking our relationship with God. Let's first talk about the emotional clutter, the emotional/mental clutter, which are all of the things of how we feel about ourselves and what are the things that we are dealing with, so that we can kind of hide away from where we are. So that looks like a few different things. If you are feeling like you're needing to deal with everything on your own and don't want to ask anybody for help because you feel for whatever reason you have to have it handled, or when we're filling up our time with busyness or other stuff because we can't deal with the quietness in our heads. It can also look like not taking care of ourselves, not fueling our bodies properly, not moving, not taking care of our hygiene, not doing the things that make us feel good about ourselves, missing deadlines, not prioritizing things that matter. All of those things go within that mental and emotional clutter. To some degree, we feel like we are undeserving or unworthy, and so we hide behind all of these other things and put on this brave face, put on this strong, like, warrior suit to make up for the things that we feel like we lack. Or if we're not doing all of the things, then we're doing nothing at all. We have just completely shut down in our lives. So how do we let that go? Well, we have to get honest with ourselves about where we actually are. We can't deal with something where we're not honest about what the actuality of that thing is. And so it starts by asking yourself some questions. Ask yourself the question, in what way am I using other things to hide from myself? Or why do I do this thing? Why do I think this way? What can I let go? And then who can I ask for help? Being able to get into the real with yourself about those questions will help you start to identify where you are and why you are that way. Now, is that going to be an overnight thing to unpack? Not necessarily. Actually getting real with yourself, that's a quick thing. But actually dealing with that space, that can take a while, and it takes healing from some trauma and letting go of some things, which leads me into the spiritual aspect of the clutter. While our spirit and our mental, emotional are very connected, they also are very separate. And so with the spiritual clutter, you really want to think about, what is it that is stopping me from being in relationship with God? Or what is blocking my relationship with God? As a Christian, as a child of God, my thoughts and how I am approaching just advice or tips, or even for my own life, is always going to come from that lens, because I serve a God who loves me and who died to save me and who wants to be in a relationship with me. And then what that means is that I don't have to be in control of everything. I don't have anything to prove to anybody. I don't have to hold on to things. I don't have to get revenge for things. I don't have to work so hard for my dreams, because what God has for me, He has that for me because He loves me. And I don't have to work to earn that. I don't have to work to earn His love. The work that I do is a response to the love that He has already shown me. And so with that, any voices or desires that pull me away from that or make me question that, really kind of make my spiritual compass go haywire and let me know that there is some clutter that I am dealing with that makes me feel like I have to prove myself to be worthy, that I have to do all of this extra hard work and go way beyond and focus so much on myself rather than focusing on the provider. So what does that spiritual clutter look like? unforgiveness. If you have someone or lots of someones that you're holding on to some unforgiveness or some bitterness toward, that is spiritual clutter. That is clutter that you need to let go and that you need to give to God. Also, hiding behind spiritual things or looking like a good person to hide something deeper that's going on. Sometimes that can be, we know we have some things that are wrong, some areas that we might need to clean up or need to deal with, and so we overcompensate in one area to make up for that other area. Or it can be, we just don't feel worthy or we don't feel good about ourselves, and so we're constantly trying to prove to ourselves that we're good enough by the acts or the works that we're doing. Another thing is just not being able to accept God's love, not being able to see that God can love you wherever you are, wherever you are, whatever you've done, wherever you've been through, that God can love you past that. We compare God's love to love that people show, and people will always be flawed. No matter how much I love somebody, that love will never compare to what God can give, because my love has all of these flaws that are in there. And so we perceive love from that standpoint and believe that God is thinking about us or loving us that way, when He just loves us and He just wants us to love Him in return and be in relationship with Him. He doesn't care about all of that stuff that we put pressure on ourselves, all that stuff that we feel bad about. He just wants us to give it to Him so that He can show us His love and His mercy and His grace in return. So how do we let go of spiritual clutter? Well, first, that starts out with spending time with God. The really good thing about spiritual matters is that we don't have to fix ourselves. When we're honest to God and we bring that brokenness to Him, then He replaces that with peace and with calmness. That doesn't necessarily mean that everything is perfect as we think it should be perfect, or that everything is quote unquote right as we initially thought it needed to be, but we have a peace and we have a calmness and we have a security resting in that God is fixing that situation and that we can move on. Be really careful who you are listening to and who and what you allow to have access to, because when we are kind of searching for things, it is very easy for us to be led in a direction that, yeah, maybe we get all of the financial benefits or this or that, these things that we are seeking, but those things without relationship and without purpose behind them really just leave us feeling empty. So I really encourage you, if there is somebody that who is in your inner circle, or even somebody who online that you look up to, whose voice you value and respect because it sounds really good, but something is just not sitting right. If it's making you focus on, I have to be the one to get it, I have to be the God of my own life, I am the center of my own universe, just be careful. Today, we unpacked a lot talking about the physical and the internal clutter that we need to just let go of. And so that's what we're working on this week. We are getting rid of the clutter. That week one guide is linked down in the description for you below. You can also click on this QR code to be able to access it. In that guide, you'll find activities to be able to work on, things to be able to think through as we are decluttering this week. In the comments below, let me know what type of clutter you are letting go of this week, whether that be physical clutter, internal clutter, or both. And then what specifically is one thing that you are going to attack this week? We can't necessarily attack all of the things at the same time, but what's one thing that you want to attack? And I'm going to put mine in there as well. So I'm going to see you in the comments. All right, guys, I love you, and I'll see you in my Thursday video. Also, if you're not already subscribed, I'm going to need you to jump on that. See ya. Bye.